Welcome back to Derry Public Radio. Reporting from the basement of the Derry Civic Center, this is Benjamin Graham with the news. In a shocking twist, phone calls were responsible for the most recent apocalyptic event in Derry. Thankfully, the crisis ended early as no one answers their cell phone anymore. I'll tell you what I told HR 3 years ago. No power on this earth could make me answer a phone call from Josh. You're listening to Derry Public Radio.
This is Derry Public Radio.
Welcome back to Derry Public Radio, a bi-weekly Stephen King Book Club podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Kahn, alongside CM Alexander.
Hello, everyone.
And Benjamin Graham.
Hello, constant readers.
And today we are continuing our Patreon selection series by covering the film Cell, and we have CM leading our discussion. CM, take it away.
Thanks, Josh. Before we begin, just a little bit of background about the movie. It was optioned immediately, I think in 2006 when it was published, but it didn't get filmed until 2013 and didn't get released until 2016. And it was supposed to originally be directed by Eli Roth, who seemed to have a pretty cool idea about the direction that he wanted to take this movie in.
Yeah?
But he dropped out because it had been too long, and I guess by the time they were going to film, he was working on his own stuff and decided he liked his own stuff, doing his own stuff better.
Was the direction a comedy?
No, it was supposed to be, according to IMDb's trivia, it was supposed to be like a worldwide look at what happens after the pulse.
Interesting.
Instead of focusing on our main characters, it would jump around the world to see the effects of this event, which would not have been the movie.
Right, yeah, that would have been the book.
Yeah.
But is that a good
it's very
idea?
cool.
Because that's how you should adapt that kind of book.
Yeah.
Because it's so personal and so character driven, and we don't really get that, of course, because we don't have all those monologues. Okay, so before we get into the plot, though, or the differences, I guess, because we already know the plot, it was directed by Todd Williams. He directed a handful of movies, including, and I'm just mentioning the ones that sound familiar to me that I think maybe our listeners will know, Paranormal Activity 2.
Sure.
Which is apparently the good one. I've never
It is
seen
good.
it.
I like the Paranormal
okay.
Activity movies.
It stars John Cusack as Clay, Samuel L. Jackson as Tom, Isabella Furman as Alice, and Owen Teague, our favorite Harold, not to disparage the other Harold because he was awesome too, but he plays Jordan. And it was co-wrote by Stephen King and Adam Alecha.
Sure.
Yeah, he did the screenplay. That guy also did The Last House on the Left and some other things.
Cool.
The original or the remake?
Probably the remake.
The remake.
Okay.
It grossed $1.3 million at the box office.
Which is very little.
It's very low.
That's
so low.
I was trying my best to Google how much this movie costs to make.
I couldn't find that. Did you find it?
It can't be a lot. I think the amount is so low that they're just like, don't put it on the internet. It's the main problem with this movie. I've watched this movie before, and I remember fucking hating it. I liked it more than I remembered, but it still looks like straight up sci-fi original movie.
And which is near and dear to my heart. Like I won't, bat an eye at that. But I was very thrown off and very scared for how the next 90 minutes or however long it is, we're going to go, because this has to be a mistake, you guys. The opening credits,
Oh my God.
all of the text is in randomly placed, random-sized black boxes, sometimes over the faces of people that are the focal point of the shot for that scene. It's like they forgot to make the text box transparent and they just had it filled in black.
That is 1,000% not what happened. It is so obviously a deliberate attempt to obscure how shitty the opening credits look. Because it
just called attention to it, though.
It does. It is not effective in the least. But yeah, the opening credits are just random shots of people in an airport, which isn't exciting. And there's no music playing, which is weird.
That was a baffling choice.
Okay, I'm confused though because this opens in an airport.
Mhm.
So they had people in an airport. Why didn't they just film them for the
Because you have
opening
to
and not
pay
have-
extras.
That's true. You do. Legally.
I'm just very upset by these black boxes.
Yeah. Man. And the no music thing actually bothered me more than I thought it would. I would have accepted if they had done like a cacophony of like ringtones or something.
Would you have been happy
played
if,
into that a little?
if the music was the music from the play menu?
The music from the DVD play menu is great.
That's horrible. Okay, well, it starts off rough with that baffling choice, but then it kind of comes back around pretty quickly. Clay is in the airport. This is where this all goes down. And I think that airport scene, CGI aside,
Yes.
is very tense and action-packed and clips right along. What was your guys' favorite parts?
The airport massacre is rad. I'm really glad we got the callback to the shitty paperweight, even though he doesn't draw any attention to it. And when he uses it to fight off a guy who's attacking a girl, and I get it, he's punching a woman to death. He's like, hey, get off her! No pause, full swing, cracks the back of his skull in.
Not only does he just, it's so casual, but John Cusack through this entire movie is not bothering.
He is asleep.
He is there for a paycheck, and that is a very small paycheck, I would assume. All of the budget in this movie went to John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson.
Ironically, he is phoning it in. The only scene, and we'll get to it later, when he in the tavern is the only time where I was like, God, John Cusack's acting his ass off right now.
Wait, is this when they're all drunk?
Yeah, no.
And I turned to you two and asked, what the hell is going on?
Okay.
When he's talking to Alice.
As we go through this, I'm going to present my notes the way they are so that we can see how confused I was for some scenes. Okay, so he's in the airport and he's trying to call Johnny and his wife, and he's being really weird about coming home, and you get that he's been gone a long time. He's been gone like a year, and she's worried that he's with somebody, but he's not. So you can see her relief. And then he's talking to his son, and all of a sudden his phone dies.
I love this choice. This was the first thing, because going into this, I fucking didn't want to watch this movie again. But this, I was like, okay, having just finished the book, this is, I don't know, I liked it more. I found it more enjoyable.
Yeah, it was right to modernize the phone stuff for
Yes.
2016.
Yes, thank God. But I loved this choice of literally right before the pulse happens, right before he's on the phone with his family. He is the reason, like, think about his phone dies. He goes, shit. So he goes to a pay phone and he talks to them for a little more. And then the phone, he runs out of money and puts it down. And as he's paying into it, the pulse happens. What do you think his wife was doing at that moment?
It is his fault. Not, on purpose.
Yeah, when it's someone, you lose a connection. What do?
Yeah,
you call them back.
It is a book Clay move to kill his wife with a pulse.
It's and I was like, that's such a cool choice. It like adds so much tension. It'll add like this guilt he has that like, oh, he's not sure if they're alive because they were talking on the phone. It's never mentioned again in the movie. It is not important at all.
I imagine maybe they wanted him to talk about it, and John Cusack, the actor, is just like, no.
No, the audience gets it.
Yes, let's blame all the problems of this movie on John Cusack.
Oh, I wouldn't do that. So Clay, I almost said goes downstairs. He goes into the airport basement where there are trains. I don't know.
We don't live in a big city.
The tram terminal?
Thank you, Josh.
You're welcome.
He goes down to the tram terminal, and that's where he meets, not Samuel L. Jackson, Tom. I kept writing Samuel L. Jackson.
No, and more importantly, he meets DJ Liquid.
Oh, no. Okay. So he meets Tom, and his trip to the train is nuts. He has to wade through a mini sea of phoners who are just like writhing and being weird on the floor. And they're making strange phone noises out of their mouths, which is a cool way, I guess, to show visually what's happening. And he's pulled into this train. He's saved by these guys. DJ Liquid, who's not...
Dude in a Ed Hardy t-shirt that decides to tag along. Were you guys excited for the adventures of DJ Liquid?
I was kind of hoping you'd stick around for a little bit.
No, I was relieved when he got an axe to the chest.
But it's because of DJ Liquid, the only time we ever address that Tom is gay. It's the only time it's ever brought up as a character moment. It
is so fast, I missed it.
Yeah.
I had to trust you because you were the only one that heard it.
Yeah, he just says, DJ Liquid says, I got to call my boo. And Samuel L. Jackson makes fun of him. And he's like, what, you don't have anybody to call? And he's like, my man left me a month ago.
Samuel L. Jackson plays Tom pretty cool.
I was shocked.
He's a badass.
I mean, I should have known. Like,
he's gonna,
if there's gonna be a movie and Samuel L. Jackson, even if it's a bad movie, he's gonna carry it. Like
he did for sure. He has all of the really cool. Like he's good at everything. He has all these great ideas. He just thinks fast on his feet throughout this whole thing. And
he was in the army. He mentions he was in basic training, so he knows guns. He knows guns so well that at one point he shoots a hunting rifle with burst fire. It's very confusing.
That was hilarious.
So we do not get our hotel scene with Mr. Riccardi. I keep wanting to call him Mr. Moriarty. No idea why. Instead, Tom and Clay go to his temporary apartment.
In this timeline of the movie, he has moved into a place in the city, and it's covered wall to wall with his drawings like a crazy person.
Looks like a serial killer.
Yes.
Until you realize it's his drawings. It's his work.
It's still a little crazy.
Yeah.
Mostly to point out that if you're an artist and you have just drawings on paper, not framed in anything, you have them taped on your wall. The one room in your house you don't tape up paper is the bathroom. And when Alice goes into the bathroom, there are taped up drawings in the bathroom too.
And she chose to be there. She comes knocking. She's covered in blood with a knife and has some dialogue from the book, similar, about killing her mom. And he lets her take a shower, and then they go through the conversation about that they're flocking and all of that and what they should do. And Clay wants them to
Illustrating
go
the
with.
flocking was cool.
It actually, it looks so much more unnatural and unintimidating.
Yeah.
In the book, like imagining it, I didn't think of how people don't move like that.
What did you guys think of their trek the next day out of the city?
Mostly, I just thought about how it was the middle of the day because they couldn't afford to film most of this movie at night. I really liked the part with the people on their motorcycle who just blindly charge into a huge...
Do you think that was supposed to represent the sprinters?
I guess. Yeah, we didn't get any... we get very few other people.
Yeah.
You don't get the scenes of them like walking, just like migrating themselves and all the people they meet on the road.
So I was thinking about that too. And there's a lot of that missing. Obviously, it's not all going to be there for the movie, but it made me feel like everyone involved in the movie in any capacity, everyone was just like, let's just do this. Let's just get through it. Come on, let's go. And not just even saying it was that bad like that, but it didn't feel like the movie was trying to connect with the audience for me at all.
I completely agree.
Okay.
There's a lot of mumbled lines that's like you couldn't have got a better take than that.
Weird editing.
Poor editing choices. It became very clear a few times that Stephen King wrote the screenplay for this, at least co-wrote it, because you have that problem where, because you're the author, you know the story. Mm-hmm. So the parts that are in your brain that you know how things panned out might not necessarily make it to, we're condensing the story, which they did a great job of condensing.
Absolutely.
And I think part of it was he knew the background, so he thought, all right, we can move. We don't have to show any of this, because we'll show it this way. And it just didn't connect to viewers the way it was intended.
Mhm.
I do really love the great moment when they find the house with the not copywritten NRA logo at it, and they decide to go in and get some guns. And Samuel L. Jackson's like, "I'm one black man walking up with a crowbar. I'm not going anywhere." And John Cusack's solution is to trade him weapons, giving him a baseball bat instead. And then Alice walks up and trades him weapons again, so he has a tiny tire iron.
The Samuel L. Jackson's couple of moments.
Mhm.
Samuel L. Jackson has the funniest moments of the movie and sells them so well in the, I think the low budget and general shittiness of the movie actually might help that, because he's just obviously like, whatever.
Yeah. If you told me that scene was improvised, I'd believe it. 100%.
And the scene later on in the bar when the lady, this is way ahead, but I'll just say they find a bar with some people in it, and there's a lady that when they enter, she calls them all cute. It's very strange.
She's a horny old lady.
Yeah, just a horny old lady that calls everyone cute. She points at Samuel Jackson like, you're really cute. And the look he gives, he doesn't say anything.
No,
it
He
is
holds
just
that look.
a
for so
Samuel L.
long.
Jackson, don't talk to me anymore look.
So great.
I would, even if I was in a scene and with that look, I would piss myself.
I also liked some of the other stuff they did with the cell phones. Tom has a cell phone and it's still working, so they put it in the freezer, and later it starts ringing, and they're sitting at Clay's table and they just look at the freezer door.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty
neat.
cool, because he texts his wife on Tom's phone and just gets back a drunk text, basically.
Just
It's
nonsense.
complete
just gibberish.
gibberish. I also really like the stuff in the house when they get the guns. They find the family and it's gruesome. And what is even more interesting and terrifying is when they go outside and there's a little boy sitting on a swing with a dog in his lap. And for some reason, they think they need to see if he's okay. He's clearly a phoner.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't seen anybody exhibit. That's something that's normal-ish, swinging on a swing set, petting a dog. That's the first time we see that they weren't necessarily all batshit insane until they notice someone.
So they have the reasonable response of shooting this kid as soon as he turns around and it's clear he's a phoner.
With a hatchet coming at them. He had an axe in his other hand.
I'm not saying they
Given
shouldn't have.
last episode,
Oh
I
my
feel
God.
like I need to
I
preemptively be
wasn't-
on this.
I wasn't being sarcastic when I said they reasonably shoot him. And then all of a sudden, just not even like a jump scare, but very casually, which made it even more scary, other phoners just step out from behind the trees. And then now we have a chase. What do you guys think of the chase scene?
It was really cool. It gave me real 28 Days Later vibes.
Yeah.
I was into that.
I found the chase scenes the least interesting part of this movie.
Yeah.
Even the guy who broke his leg falling down?
Okay.
That was rough.
That was cool. Yeah, they're sprinting through the forest, and there's this really cool, the most realistic thing that happens is Phoner trips over a branch, and when he gets up, his leg is just like broken in 3 places, and he just like scrabbles to get up and still chase them. That was very cool. The part where they would just like periodically stop and turn around and just kind of like shoot guns off screen.
Yeah.
It's very Tomb Raider.
I didn't like that.
That was less good.
But it was cool because I just read this, but I also wasn't thinking about Nightfall and them walking away. So when they hide under a boat, very strangely, and John Cusack looks like he's gonna shoot his gun inside the boat. And then we see sunset and they all turn and they start walking away randomly, but by the end they have their eyes closed and they have one hand on the shoulder of the person in front of them, leading the most depressed conga line I've ever seen.
It reminded me of how I walk through a haunted house.
Yeah, I get that.
Head down, eyes closed, just grabbing the shoulder of the person in front of me. And very quickly, in movie time, we are at Gayton Academy and we meet Charles Ardai, the head, and Jordan.
Played by Stacy Keach.
I was
He's-
so excited about that.
Yeah, he's in this movie for 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, Stacy Keach is a very scary man. He does a good job, but I just imagine Ardai is so much friendlier.
Yeah.
He's
me
like,
too.
I love that like wacky Professor King character.
Mhm.
And Stacy Keach is not that.
No,
he
he is
stabs a man in the leg with his cane.
He also has this line when they're about to. Okay, so first we see the soccer field, super effective visually.
That was very cool.
very, very disturbing. And then very, very quickly, too, they don't hardly spend any time at Gaten Academy. He's like, hey, we should do this. He stabs the phoner in the leg to illustrate that they're kind of helpless in this state and explains what they need to do. Clay and Tom drive this truck into the field over bodies, just spraying it.
While just casually drinking out of a decanter of whiskey.
I get that. If you're going
Absolutely.
to run over a bunch of people, like phoners or not, you'd have to be drunk. That would just be so disturbing.
This scene is the first scene in the movie that kind of supports our this is a comedy theorem. Because, yeah, the just casual two dudes doing a blue collar job vibe between John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. They're like driving over literally piled corpses. Like they're all laying on top of each other. And they're just driving over it, passing this whiskey bottle back and forth. And Samuel Jackson's like, you gotta put it in lower gear, man. You gotta put it in lower gear. You're getting caught up. And John Cusack's like, yeah, I'm stuck on a skull. It's so dark and great.
And it ends with you're probably over the legal limit after all that. Yeah, but next to mass murder, I don't think it's that bad.
That is the one to light the tennis ball on fire and shoot that into the field. He has this line that made me think about our argument,
yes.
our discussion last episode, because he's talking about how it's a very like, can't fight progress no matter how hard I try. I guess I can do what I can.
Yeah,
It
they
was-
say
it
you
was
can't
very-
fight progress, but you can have fun trying, I believe is the line.
It kind of pulled in the more, I felt, technophobic element of the book that the movie does not
Absolutely.
have otherwise.
Yes. And it's very, I don't know, maybe it's because it's coming from a very intimidating
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Stacy Keach with a flaming arrow, but it is menacing. And it fits with the ending, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
Because he's very clearly like, they say in this conversation, this might be the next step of human evolution, and touches on our discussion of is them taking over a bad thing?
Mhm.
Because, no free will, no freedom, no conflict, no war, if everyone is everyone.
Do humans deserve to have free will if we're just being so fucking shitty with it?
This is suddenly a very different podcast.
Okay, so for his troubles, the truck explodes like it does in the book, and they're not expecting that, and he gets impaled with a car part.
Very cool.
Yeah, just like, it looks like a
Well,
whole friggin'
Looks like a
drive
muffler
shaft.
or something.
Do you-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think because Stacy Keach played him, they knew that we wouldn't buy the Raggedy Man making him commit suicide?
Oh,
So
He's
they
too
had,
tough, yeah.
They had to impale him with the
Yeah.
car part.
It's too much of a hard
if
ass.
anyone on set was like, you're changing the script for me, it wasn't John Cusack, it was Stacy Keach. I'm not killing myself. Fuck you.
Well, and I'm glad that they got rid of that because they really got rid of the stadium dream. They still did dreams to hilarious follow through, but
I liked it.
but getting rid of the being stood on stage and declared insane, they let all that go. So it was right to just kill the head and move on.
And they have a line where they're like, "Oh, do you feel that? We feel their rage." So that's sort of representing that. And there was no confrontation with the Raggedy Man, which I was like, okay, is he
Sorry,
in
who?
this? Oh, I'm sorry, the president of the internet, as he is known in this movie. But
Also very funny.
Oh, good.
we do get a dream shortly after that they walk to a drive-in movie theater and
there's a sequence after Stacy Keach dies, it like fades
the
out
preaching.
and it's Samuel L. Jackson reading the Bible verse from the book. And I was like, that's a cool touch. They actually like have this
they're doing the voiceover
moment,
as they're showing them
but as
progress.
it's showing this, they're walking through a drive-through movie theater in the middle of the day. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess Art I always loved the drive-through. Let's bury him there. But we don't see them trying to bury him or anything. It's just Tom in the lobby of this drive-through reciting a Bible verse for some reason.
Everyone else is trying to sleep.
Yes.
It was not a voiceover. It was not they're doing this while it's fading into this.
It was entirely diegetic. Like, it was happening.
Very weird choice.
It's just
Wait, non-diegetic? It's definitely one of those.
Let's talk about Clay's dream, because this was, I don't know how I feel about it.
Well, yeah, it does show his wife blowing a zombie.
Yeah, so my immediate note was, what are the others dreaming about? Because we didn't know at this point.
I was really hoping it was a shared dream still.
God, that would have been so hard for him to explain.
The very ending, the jump cut at the end, I really liked, because he walks into a bathroom and literally just sees the Raggedy Man. It's the first time we see him standing facing a wall with someone about yay level.
Yeah, giving him a blowy.
My
yay
waist.
Level.
Yeah. Yay!
That was gross, you guys.
Yes, the yay level. Oh my god.
And the Raggedy Man turns around and his face is all ripped up. And he just kind of laughs. I was like, this is dumb. But then he just like looks really serious and does a quick phone gesture and he wakes up.
Yeah.
I thought it was effective.
It was cool.
Yeah.
I like Alice is like, oh, in my dream, he was poking me in the neck with a knitting needle, which sounds annoying.
Yeah, that was one thing. I was like, the others' dreams, like, that's obviously very tied to his motivation. Why Alice dreams of a knitting needle and Tom dreams of getting hit by a train. Oh, I guess he was a train conductor.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. I was like, why?
And then very quickly, and I kind of missed how this happened or how they got there. They're at a restaurant where, in my notes, they meet Denise, Ray, and Dan. And Denise is not picking up what Tom is not laying down, as Ben said, and that was just a great scene. And they all get, all of them, maybe not Jordan, because we don't really see him.
Yeah, he's like sitting on the sidelines.
They all get super, super drunk. And Tom tries to say that...
Yeah.
Clay,
yeah, this is the worst part of the movie.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Because they've all had this dream now, and they're all drunk and they're talking. Tom shouts to everybody at the bar that Clay drew this guy, that he saw drawings of him on his wall.
Yeah, when
before the dreams.
Yep.
Yeah. Tries to insinuate that he created this guy.
That's
it sounds
okay.
like.
That's what, all right, I did understand that.
Yeah, and which is why he asks him how the story ends, as though they're acting out a story that he has written. And
which is a different Stephen King book completely.
yes, and it's fully nothing else from his graphic novel has happened, so there's nothing else.
Yeah, it's confusing and like an unnecessary plot point.
Unless they change it to be that's what is happening.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Well, but that's also not what Clay says, something to the effect of, a lot of people have drawn the devil. That's his response to it. Because when you do see the photos at the beginning, I was looking for that foreshadowing, and it's literally just I thought it was Flag.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a wizard's
You
hood.
mean Flack. The wizard Flack.
Yes, the wizard Flack. Oh, Sleepy Jean, where were you?
I think John Cusack was Sleepy Jean.
Yeah, no, it's a very weird, and it's not touched on later.
No,
like,
that's why it's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Can I tell you guys, though, my favorite part of the movie is right after this scene. Because Clay is talking to Alice, and he's sketching her a really beautiful picture of her face.
God, that's a great scene.
And he's basically just telling her about his family, what's going on with him and his wife and his separation. And this is the character, this Clay that we get, and John Cusack is not phoning it in at this moment. This is a Clay I wanted to have in the book. He is, Ben, you said it, he is self-aware.
Yeah. I turned to, we were talking about it, and I turned to him and was like, it's weird having a Stephen King main character that's this self-aware. Because he's very like, wow, I was a piece of shit.
Kind of like our discussion with the Thinner book. The main character was made a little more likable, I think, to connect with the audience. And so, yeah, Clay in this is great. And then I thought that they were having another dream. I thought not Denise, the older, the horny old lady.
Horny old lady.
Horny old lady.
She wakes up and looks around. Everyone else is sleeping. It's not like the first dream where Clay wakes up and nobody's around him. It's just him alone. And she walks to the door of this restaurant. And I thought she locked it and took the key, but then she hears something and turns around and the key is still there. And that's why I thought it was a dream. But it is not a dream because she puts her head up to the door.
Well, so what happened was she heard a sound, went to the door, and saw that the key is in there, but the door was unlocked.
Oh,
so
she locked it.
relocked
Okay.
it, left the keys there, turned around, heard the sound again, turned around, and now the door's back unlocked.
See, I blinked, so I got very confused about what was reality
Sure.
in that. I'm like, well, how did the keys get back in the door if this isn't a dream?
Leading to one of the most effective scares of this entire thing.
This legit scared me.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Clay wakes up.
Well, not scared me, but like gave
Yeah.
me
It
the
made my
spooks.
heart pound.
Oh.
Because
really?
I didn't catch it immediately.
Yeah, Clay wakes up and he notices that she's just standing kind of off by the door in a very creepy way, in a very Blair Witch way. Like, don't ever just stand with your back to people and not move, please. And he gets up and he has his gun because he can tell something's off. And he's very quietly approaching her. And it cuts to the front of him. And just very subtly, I thought, behind him, they're just phoners and they're not moving. So you almost don't see them at first. And that's
I
the part.
didn't see them. That's why I
didn't?
was...
Oh,
That's
this
what
was
you guys
terrifying.
reacted to this scene so quickly. It's so like powerfully. And I was like, it's a late, she's standing there. And then a guy jumps out and attacks John Cusack. And I thought it was funny.
I didn't see them until all three of them were in frame. And that's when, because I just saw the lighting off of one guy's head, and I was just like, holy shit, there are people in the darkness.
And that's where we find out that in this movie, they don't have to use phones to continue to send out the signal. They do it with their
A
mouths.
great change.
Which
It
is
works, yeah.
so creepy in the scene where they're all like fighting and these phoners are holding some guy down and
Not
yelling.
Ray.
Yeah, not Ray. And yelling in his ear and turning him into a phoner. It's so effective. And it's like, whoa, that's a cool change and like really threatening. And then the next thing happens and it's very sad. And then the next thing after that is three characters walking down the road with the worst ADR explaining what just happened.
And then a weird fade out.
And then, yeah, a super
it was
weird
like a
fade out.
3-second scene that we couldn't hear.
Yeah, it was like the movie's throwing to commercial. It's
Yeah.
very unfortunate because the thing that happens, I was ready to be like, oh, is this actually a good movie?
This is a good scene.
It's a very good scene
So
in a bad movie.
Yeah.
what Ben is talking about is they're still in the restaurant. They're fighting off the phoners. And Alice saves Tom by shooting a guy on top of him. And he turns and he goes, Alice, watch out. And not Denise just hits her as hard as you can in the back of the head with a baseball bat. And that is how Alice dies.
The makeup of her eye hemorrhaged
Ooh, yeah.
as they're driving and the way she whispers her like final, it's just mumbled, her final words, just devastating. And really weird that it then cuts to a single shot of the Raggedy Man.
His eye was also looked
The
hemorrhaged,
sa-
and I thought,
hemorrhaged in
is
the
that
same way as
yeah?
her.
So I thought, oh, are we going to get something where he's communicating through her? Well, we might have, but the sound was so inconsistent in this that we couldn't hear what she was saying. I didn't know that was or was not on purpose.
Yeah. That,
But
Which
it
is
was
a problem.
effective.
which is a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Which is a
Well,
problem.
if the other scenes that we talked about hadn't
Yeah.
been the way they were,
Yeah.
I would have thought it was on purpose, and I would have been like, oh, cool.
There are many scenes in this movie that would be extremely good if the rest of the movie was made competently.
I was also really glad that they took... I was afraid they were going to do Alice's death in the bar, and she was just going to fade away. So I was very, very happy that that next cut was to them outside. Each of them either is holding a hand and Clay is like brushing her hair with his fingers. They're all just, they're there. And you have that moment where they just have to sit with the pain.
In the middle of the day. Because they can't afford to shoot it.
They can't shoot at night. Oh
so they're walking on a road in the mountains, I think, in the snow, and they're saying something. Can't hear what it is. And then we cut to them meeting our other, well, I thought 3, but it's actually only 2. It's actually Ray and Denise. And we get, were y'all in agreement, just the best character of the movie?
Hands down.
Man.
He was a little too much for me at first until I figured out what was going on with him.
Which I think is a great choice. I think that is a great way to develop a character, make them that off-putting, and give the audience that aha moment.
And it made him stand out in a way that none of the other characters really stood out to me.
Yes.
Which was also cool. Because he's going on like he is on meth.
Yes.
He is just
hyped.
bonkers. And you find out that that's because he has not been sleeping because he doesn't want to have the dream. So that's how he's protecting himself.
Which is also great because it shows they had their dreams after the first flock kill. And Ray basically says, we've killed 2. The dreams have never stopped. They continually get worse. So it implies that every time he sleeps, he is getting brought and haunted to by the Raggedy Man. Whereas these guys, our heroes, just had the one dream and it hasn't happened again.
Yeah, it's so good. The actor's name is Anthony Reynolds, and he's... Also, I was very excited that him and Denise are the only characters in the movie that have a Boston accent.
Yes!
Which adds so much.
Anger. It adds so much anger. They just seem so mad.
But he nails every scene he's in, especially when they're driving before he pulls over.
God!
And he is...
Oh, first we need to talk about them doing the Michonne.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, CM, you called this plot point.
We find out that Denise's brother is a phoner, but they have a bag over his head and they have him tied up. And it's cool because it gives us some neat exposition about how when the phoners are near, his behavior changes. Otherwise, he's just kind of like a traditional mindless zombie. And they figured out, too, that the phoners can see them through his eyes. So that's why they have him bagged up. And she's trying to shove food in his mouth, which is terrifying.
I really thought he was going to bite her fingers off.
I did, too. He does something better. He starts making a weird phone noise when Clay approaches and starts talking, and Clay recognizes the voice. And so they're all trying to stop him, but he will not be stopped. He rips the bag off the guy's head. And
he's a guy in his 20s, and he's speaking with a kid's voice.
Yes, and it's Johnny's voice, and he says, "Hi, Dad." And
that was fucking great.
And Tom shoots him to death as soon as that happens.
Yeah, I think that was the best. I wouldn't call it a scare. That's the best piece of world building in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, that is, yes, that is a scene that if they adapted this into a TV show, that would be a major...
It'd be the cliffhanger.
A major thing. It would be an ongoing thing of using phoners as radar. Like, that's such a cool idea.
So let's talk about, they're driving, and you think it's a comedy moment at first because Ray is mumbling to himself. And this is an actual mumble. I don't think we're supposed to hear what he says. And Clay's kind of looking at him like, "You okay, Ray?" And he stops, and he gets out of the truck, and he walks up the hill, and he looks back at Clay. And then he keeps walking. Clay is not picking it up. And he looks back at him again, and he makes the head nod motion like, "Follow me." And let's talk about this scene.
It's so crazy because Clay is trying to talk him down, knowing that he has not slept in a week, because this is where he's saying he comes to me when I'm sleeping and it gets worse and worse. And
he's hearing voices.
He's hearing voices
awake.
now. He's seeing things now. And Clay's like, "You think maybe it's because you haven't slept in a week? That might be giving you hallucinations?"
Which is cool.
Someone
because
a grumpy boy.
Well, it's neat because that's a really valid argument.
Yeah.
And so we as the viewer don't know if the powers in this movie include those things, like while they're awake, or if he is just hallucinating.
And he pulls the phone with a piece of paper rubber banded to it, tosses it to Clay, and he says something to the effect of, "They think I'm the end, but you're the end. Take this, call the number when the time comes." And he's like, "When the time? When's the time?" "At the end."
Duh.
Yeah, of course. But the whole time, Clay's keeps saying, "Hey, what's around your neck?" And we just see these wires sticking out of under his jacket. And he grabs the detonator and he's like, "Oh, this is going to blow my mind. Better step back."
The dumbest line. Stephen King fucking wrote that and then put his legs up on his desk.
He pulled
I
that
would've
guy
too.
pulled it off though.
I would've
I
done the
appreciated
same
it coming out of his
thing.
mouth. Yeah, and he blows himself up. And then very quickly, we are at Clay's house.
What's...
Right? Did I
I don't know. I think I went to the bathroom at that
Yeah,
point.
no,
So
they pull up to Clay's house.
yeah.
I'm just thinking of
Yeah.
the moment that's coming up in a little bit.
Oh, yeah, they're at Clay's house. He's like, "I got to go in by myself. I got to do this by myself."
sure.
He walks through the house. He's calling for his family. Sees the note that Johnny left on the fridge using the magnetic letters.
Yeah, he's written it completely using magnet letters. Like there's no paper. And what did was it you that said he's not that tall?
Oh no, Josh
That was
said
me.
Josh,
And
he said,
I was the one who said he probably used a chair.
I have a theory.
Oh.
He didn't write it. A phoner did.
Oh, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Dang.
Because they're trying to lure him into this trap, and we know that the Raggedy Man's in the house. Or, no, not the
No.
Raggedy Man. But we know there's a phoner in the house.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Johnny just didn't write it.
He didn't.
It was
Well,
a-
that's it. Yeah.
That makes
Because
perfect
we
sense.
never get any other notes from him
Mhm.
or anything. It's wow. Yeah, he's already a phoner. All right, so Clay he hears something in the attic. He's in Johnny's room for some reason. He goes up there to look for I don't know what. And Ben, you pointed out that the boat picture from 1408
Yep.
is on Johnny's wall.
Looking very out of place.
So he hears something in the attic. He goes up there. He opens a closet door in the attic.
Yeah, this big... What is that room?
It's like a broom closet in the attic.
Yeah.
Convenient.
Sure.
He's got a real big house. I'm
He
not
does have a
questioning
big
it.
house.
And out pops in a jump scare the Raggedy Man. And so there's a fight, and he's trying to beat him off. And then, you know what I mean. And then Tom.
To get vengeance from what happened in his dreams.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
his
It's
wife
like-
beat him to it.
Oh.
Hey! Yay!
Yeah.
And Tom shows up and saves the day. And it's not the Raggedy Man, it's actually Sharon.
And he shows no...
He's very book Clay in this moment.
Pretty much other than that one scene with Alice, the
Yeah,
rest of the
true.
book, there's not much emotion. It is
No.
very wooden John Cusack face.
He seemed kind of angry most of the time.
Yeah.
Like the person, not the character.
Yeah.
We cut to Clay sitting at his kitchen table, mourning his wife, maybe. And he's
Mhm.
looking at the phone and the note. And Tom's like, "What's that?" And he explains it to him. And I think Josh,
No, it was
or-
Ben.
it was Ben. Ben was like, "Oh, Tom's smart." And then the very next scene we cut to, he's opening, they're in an ice cream truck. He's
It's great.
opening the...
A great reference to
freezer.
the beginning of the book.
Yeah. And tons of explosives in the ice cream truck.
Yeah, and Tom immediately ruins whatever leg up they had by being like, "Hey, everybody, check out these explosives in this truck." Crazy, right? Probably shouldn't think about it because
To
of
be
the
fair,
telepaths.
They haven't so much been telepathic in the aggressive way they were in the book.
Yeah.
Because Ray doesn't blow himself up so that they don't read his mind. He blows himself up because he has lost his mind.
Mhm.
No, I think
That's what
it's
I thought,
So that
too.
they didn't. Oh, okay.
No, because he says he's hearing their voices and he's losing it. So I
Yeah.
think he just can't do it. He knows he can't do it.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But still,
So let's
so
go with
dramatic
it.
to blow yourself up.
Yeah, like I said, what a drama queen.
Okay, we're at the end of the movie because Tom
Yes.
and Jordan and Denise go off and Clay does the whole spray paint, message for me. I'll come find you guys. We don't, of course, get that scene where they split off and then they're drawn back because we're not doing that
Right.
mind control stuff. And
And no levitation.
No levitation, no. Well, I'm glad.
How great
because
would it
who
have
knows
been
what
if
it'd have
after
looked
the
like.
it's the boat scene. I kept wanting them as they're hiding under the boat, all of their
yeah.
feet to just lift off the
That would have been
ground.
cool. Just the way this movie looks at the end was a little rough, but I do like the sound because they did build up this. I thought it was thunder where he's driving, he's going to No-Fo zone to get his son and blow stuff up.
We didn't talk about in the early episodes how fucking stupid that sign is. Jordan even says, "What does no phone mean?" Jordan's like, "Maybe it means no phone." I'm good one.
Yeah.
Why though?
Well, because that's the no signal thing is not a thing in this. They are traveling to the biggest signal.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
the twist is that in this that Cashwhack they had a casino built and now they have
The Eiffel
cell
Tower
time.
of
The
cell
world's
towers.
largest cell phone tower.
Well, so he finds this thing because we get a scene of him stopping the truck and he looks very like confused, or as confused as John Cusack could muster looking. And you hear this thunderous noise and it's dark, or it's supposed to be dark.
It's very dark. It is
It's kind of
too
hard
dark.
to tell what's going on. And you think, okay, maybe there's a storm coming. Maybe that's going to interfere with the signal. Like, that's what I was thinking. Like, oh, he's going to try to dial it, but he's not going to get a signal because the storm is interfering. No, we come upon thousands of phoners weirdly, I don't want to, it's stampeding, but it was very shuffly
Yeah.
in a circle around this cell tower.
It looks so cool from a distance and so hilariously dumb up close.
Yes.
Because they're packed, like, touching, like, so crammed together. And they're literally just, like, shuffling their feet.
There were a lot of what felt like green screen moments.
Oh, this
In this
whole
final
last
scene.
part is all green screen.
I did like when he gently drives the truck, the ice cream truck, through the crowd into, closer to the cell tower.
Yeah, and they'll just bump into the side of it. It's so good.
I thought he was going to run them over because they definitely did that earlier. So it's like, okay, we're willing to do this and we have the budget for it. No, they just gently move aside. And he comes to a stop and he sees in front of him at the base of the cell tower, the Raggedy Man.
Sorry, who?
I'm sorry, the president of the internet,
Thank you.
as he is called in this movie.
But
Completely
why?
unironically.
But why?
I missed why he's
they don't explain
don't.
it.
Ray's the one who calls him that.
Oh, Ray's
for
crazy.
No point.
Okay.
But the name, the Raggedy Man, exists. I mean, I get you can't call him the president of Harvard because I'm sure Harvard wouldn't want to sign off on
Yeah.
on that
their
character
villain.
design. But Raggedy Man is a name that we have.
And he looks raggedy, so it would have
And
worked.
on IMDb, the character is listed as Raggedy. That's it.
Oh.
Just
Huh.
Raggedy.
Oh, all right.
Who knows?
So he hits him with his ice cream truck.
Which is fucking hilarious.
I can't. You have to see this scene because Sam, you're right. It is
Yeah.
all such bad green screen.
It looked like no one was in the same scene as anyone else.
It looks like a DC movie fight sequence.
Yeah.
It takes place in a giant, enormous, flat space that does not exist.
It looks like the Wastelands, what
Yeah,
I imagine them looking like.
It looks like nothing.
Mhm.
And there's this impossibly tall cell tower and these thousands of people. And he drives an ice cream truck through them. And it just looks like he's driving through a warehouse. It's so weird.
And Ray has posited that if you kill the president of the internet, they'll all scatter and go crazy.
Which is nonsense.
So John Cusack hits him with the ice cream truck, walks over, fires about 3 rounds into him, then kicks him in the head, and then fires 4
the
more
rest
rounds.
of it.
That was fun. I liked that.
Just making sure.
And then he goes into the crowd like the worst possible way looking for Johnny.
So it starts off funny because he wades through the crowd just rifle butting people to get them out of his way. But slowly the stream of them overwhelms him and he starts getting trampled and loses his gun and has to army crawl out of the loop.
And fortunately for him, when he army crawls out, there's Johnny. And the Raggedy Man is not dead, by the way. I don't remember when
And
it
doesn't
happens.
have any gunshot wounds.
He's totally fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
Which I didn't pick up on at first,
Mhm.
but he was making him think he shot him, but he never shot him. Because we didn't really get that mind control stuff, but I guess we have it at the very end.
Yeah.
Again, the problem of having the writer
Yeah.
adapt and summarize.
Because that is really cool, and I like the way they ended it.
Mm.
And I wish that we'd had that thread throughout. It would have had a bigger impact, because all it did, honestly, was confuse the shit out of me until I put book stuff and movie stuff together.
Yeah, well, here's my takeaway. What I got from this ending is that pretty much everything up to the point, like when he crests the hill and sees the crowd, I think that's the last thing that happens in the movie.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Because what happens is he's hit the Raggedy Man, he's crawled through, and he crawls out, and his son is there, and he crawls over to his son and is like shaking him, and he's like, Johnny, and Johnny looks up, and you know something's wrong, and it cuts. It shows all these phoners around him staring up at the tower and screaming. And then the Raggedy Man pops up from behind the car and starts screaming, and Johnny's screaming. And John Cusack pulls out the phone and dials the number and hits it and vaporizes everything,
Including himself and
including
his son.
himself and his son. You're like, oh shit, well, okay. I mean, that's definitely a departure.
But
Yeah.
also, we get the hilarious far shot of the explosion and the tower falling.
It's
The
so
CGI
bad.
is
It's
rough.
really bad.
So bad.
But then it jump cuts to a sunny day, John Cusack and his son walking through the woods by a tree labeled TDJ. And you're like,
I thought it was like his brain fight, like his last. He was just having a
Not
nice
to-
dream before he died.
not to plagiarize a more popular and better podcast, but it's a Jacob's Ladder scenario.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Shout out.
We've talked about that before on ours, though.
Yeah, we have plagiarized Jason Mantzoukas before.
Just to get him on the show, and he will not come.
Zooks. So yeah, I believe that after he crests the hill, he does all this. There's no way he is not turned. I thought of this when during the scene where we find out that they can turn people.
Mhm.
Because they hold these people down and they emit this noise and drives them crazy. Well, the rest of our characters are in the same room, and I was like, well, if you just have to hear the noise, why are they not turning? Why is it directional, like out of these people's mouths? And in this scene, when he's literally wading through thousands of phoners screaming at the base of this huge cell tower that you assume is like amplifying the signal. So I just kept thinking, I'm like, there's no way. He's definitely turned. And at the end of the movie, after this explosion, after you see them walking to Canada, I guess, it then goes back to the tower, untouched, unfallen, unexploded. And John Cusack is marching through the crowd with the phoners.
But we do see that the ice cream truck is in the inside of that circle. So we know
he's
that
up to that point, I guess.
point is where it had to have happened.
Well, because I really like your theory, Ben,
Mhm.
actually better, but I can't get on board with it only because when they're holding down Not Ray in the bar, it seems like they were establishing that it does have to be direct. So they wouldn't have it. Otherwise, why even fight him? Why not just, once they were inside, just start emitting
Yeah,
a noise?
yelling.
It wouldn't matter.
Mhm.
But I do like that. That would have been a cool way to do the movie. So that is it. That's the movie. I was hoping I'd know by now how I felt about it.
The one question that has been plaguing me since we finished watching it isn't the ending. It's why did they show the Raggedy Man having a pair of dice?
No one's going to get that.
No, it's not. I don't mean that as a joke. I mean, he gets shot, and then they show Raggedy Man laying there with his arms stretched out, and there's just two pairs of dice.
Oh,
just
I
sitting.
missed that.
No,
part.
I
that's
did too.
why I
I
brought
thought
it
you were
up.
joking.
No.
Yeah, I thought you were just making an I think you should leave reference.
I was, because I saw two pairs of dice.
Oh.
There's just two white six-sided dice.
Maybe
Just out. It was very weird.
it's a game of chance.
That's what it
Oh
is.
no,
No,
I thought
no,
the
Sam got it.
fedora with safari flaps in back was weirder, but
All right, what did you guys think of this movie?
after watching this movie, I don't even want to be around anymore. No. Just-
God.
no,
You watched that sketch.
There's a subset of people that are going to
Yeah.
be very happy about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was all right.
Yeah.
It was, I'm going to say the same thing I think I said about the book, which
Mhm.
better than I remembered. Not good, but kind of fun. I don't think it's as fun without you guys.
Right.
So I would suggest if you are going to read or watch this movie, definitely do it with friends. I'll give it a solid 3 out of 5 blue chambray shirts.
This movie was not as bad as everyone says it is.
Mhm.
Or maybe they just properly lowered my expectations, so I was not as miserable.
I think that's definitely a part of it.
The only thing that bothered me about it wasn't bad enough to keep me engaged. Throughout, I kind of wanted it to be over. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
and I'm ready. I'm ready to record and like be done with this. So just for that reason, I'm not going to rate it as high as I normally would a bad horror movie that I can have fun watching, because it was definitely fun watching with you guys. I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 blue chambray shirts.
Yeah.
I like the condensed storytelling. I like the pace. I loved the action set piece in the airport. That was wild as
Yeah.
hell. But the whole movie pretty much goes downhill from the very beginning. It just gets more, all right. Samuel L. Jackson eats up the scenery, which is great. But overall, yeah, I found myself getting bored. And if I were to ever revisit this, it would be to show someone clips that I thought were cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 blue chambray shirts. That's it for this episode of Derry Public Radio. As always, thank you for listening. Join us for our next episode, where we will be covering our next Patreon selection from Lisa Kahn, Dreamcatcher, and we will be reading through part 1. For Benjamin Graham and CM Alexander, I'm Joshua Kahn reminding you, don't be sorry, because there is nothing to be sorry about yet.
Hey everyone, CM Alexander here. Thank you for listening to Cell Part 3. We hope you enjoyed it. Before I get to the haiku, just a reminder of all the places you can keep up with us. Facebook and Instagram at Derry Public Radio, or Twitter at Derry Public. Or you can send us an email. We love hearing from you and knowing how you guys feel about the books too. Don't forget to follow us on our Patreon, because we post early and bonus stuff there every month. And this month we'll be covering some short stories from Joe Hill's 20th Century Ghosts. So if that sounds good to you, sign up for our $5 tier and up. Download all of our episodes and then cancel. Leave us all alone. Seriously though, Patreon is for you guys, so you do what you want with it. We won't judge. We also have merchandise on our Etsy store. Search Derry Public Radio. There's stuff specific to our podcast and some general Stephen King stuff on there too. And we're always looking to add more things, so if you see a design you like, but we don't have it on the product you want, tell us and we will make it just for you. Okay, here's the Cell haiku. Ringing in your ears, turns out it's better without you. We have become new. That's all for now, listeners. Goodbye.